From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. Palestinian authorities accuse Israel of stealing organs from corpses of Palestinians killed in Gaza in November. Israel returned the 80-plus bodies this week. The bodies were buried in a mass grave in Rafah, but authorities are still trying to determine the exact time and place of their deaths. Palestinian authorities have called for an international investigation into organ harvesting. The Gaza-based government media office said that examination of the bodies revealed significant changes in their shape due to the suspected theft of vital organs. The Palestinian Ministry of Health received the bodies via the Kerem Shalom border crossing in southern Gaza. Marwan Al-Hams, director of the Mohammed Yusuf Al-Najjar Hospital in Rafah City, told Anadolu news agency that the bodies arrived in a container, some intact, others in pieces, and others decomposed. Israel has also been criticized for handing over bodies without identifying them and exhuming bodies from cemeteries. The statement criticized the silence of the international organizations, including the International Committee of the Red Cross, on these allegations. The Israeli army has gathered dozens of Palestinian civilians in a playground in the north of Gaza City after forcing them to undress. In a video shared on social media, the civilians, including children and elderly, can be seen being detained by Israeli army in a playground after they're stripped down to their underwear. The video also shows Israeli tanks targeting them. The fate of these Palestinians is unknown, as the Israeli army has not yet commented on the video. A Hamas spokesman says that the Israeli occupation soldiers filming dozens of Palestinian civilians in Gaza undressing in cold weather amounts to a war crime. A group of relatives of Israeli prisoners in Gaza held a protest on Tuesday in the center of Tel Aviv to demand their return. Prisoners' relatives closed the gates of the Hashalom train center in Tel Aviv after the decision of the war cabinet to convene there. Families of the prisoners demanded that the government immediately conclude a deal to release them. In its October 7th attack on Israeli settlements, Hamas killed around 1,200 Israelis and injured 5,431. It also detained at least 239 Israelis. Dozens were exchanged with Israel during a 7-day humanitarian pause. Israel maintains that dozens of Israelis are still in the custody of Hamas in Gaza. Hamas has called for the release of all Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails in exchange for the release of the remaining Israeli prisoners. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to force the migration of Palestinians from Gaza to other countries. The plan envisages creating conditions for Palestinians to voluntarily agree to migrate. According to the daily newspaper Israel Hayom, Netanyahu made his remarks during a closed parliamentary session for members of his ruling Likud party. He said that Israel was working with the countries to absorb the Palestinian population. Danny Danan of the Likud party said few countries have raised the issue to allow Palestinians to migrate. He mentioned that Canadian Immigration Minister Mark Miller and former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley, who's seeking the Republican Party's nomination for the 2024 presidential election, were in favor of the idea. He added that Israel needs to form a committee to follow up on the issue to ensure that anyone who wants to move to a third country can do so. The US, Arab, and European countries have repeatedly spoken out strongly against any form of forced migration of Palestinians in Gaza. Palestinian artist exhibits baby Jesus to draw attention to babies in Gaza. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. A Palestinian artist has displayed a model of baby Jesus in an incubator in Bethlehem to raise awareness of the Palestinian babies killed by Israeli attacks in Gaza. Rana Bishara, who lives in the town of Tarshiba in northern Palestine, came to the Church of the Nativity in the south of the occupied West Bank, which is considered the birthplace of Jesus Christ. To draw attention to the Palestinian children who are being killed by Israel in the Gaza Strip, Bishara said, "Stop the war," with the model she placed in front of the church. She said the message is, quote, "Stop the war now. And if the West claims to be true Christians, they should stop the war tonight." Bishara said premature babies were being left to die in hospitals. Ads in New York's suburban train stations showing the shrinking of Palestinian territories in Israel have been triggering heated debate and controversy. They mention that 4.7 million Palestinians are classified as refugees by the UN and illustrate Palestinian land loss between 1946 and 2010. The ads are funded by the Committee for Peace in Israel and Palestine. The group's co-chair, Henry Clifford, argues that they aim to create a historical context for the region. Some Jewish groups call them offensive to Israel. Critics claim that the ads are misleading and that they lack historical context. David Ifone, editor of the El Gemenir Journal for the Jewish Community, calls for the ads to be removed and urged the city's transportation department to standardize its ad policy. Despite the controversy, the ads remain in place, according to Aaron Donovan, a spokesman for the Transit Authority. Harvard University President Claudine Gay is facing backlash for defending the principle of free expression while supporting the cause of Palestine. Some faculty members are demanding the resignation of certain board members who endorsed Gay's stance. The criticism against Gay intensified after she categorized anti-Israel protest and supporting Palestine as part of free expression. This led to calls for her to step down due to perceived damage to the university's reputation. Board members who supported Gay also face resignation demands from their colleagues. Some question the arrogance of the Harvard Corporation, which is urging board members to resign. Amidst this turmoil, an unnamed faculty member suggested invoking a provision within the Massachusetts Constitution to appoint a state representative to the board. The proposal was supported by Massachusetts Governor Maura Haley. The controversy follows recent congressional hearings on anti-Semitic incidents on campuses, where President Liz McGill of the University of Pennsylvania resigned under pressure. Harvard's former presidents, however, voiced strong support for President Gay in navigating these challenging times. The former Chief Minister of Indian-administered Kashmir warns that India and Pakistan must resolve the Kashmir issue through dialogue, or else the region could face a fate similar to that of Gaza in Palestine. Farooq Abdullah is head of the National Conference, the largest pro-India political group in the area. Abdullah stressed the importance of maintaining friendly relations with neighboring countries for regional growth, noting that while friends can change, neighbors cannot. He requested India's reluctance to engage in talks for a resolution despite Pakistan's willingness to do so. Tensions over Kashmir worsened after India revoked the region's limited autonomy in 2019. That led to the deterioration in relations between India and Pakistan, including the expulsion of diplomats and trade downgrades. Iowa's Republican Governor Kim Reynolds has drawn widespread criticism for opting out of the Summer Electronic Benefits Transfer, or EBT for Children's program. This program is a federal initiative aimed at providing $40 per child per month in additional food assistance to low-income families during the summer months. The decision, which was announced just before Christmas, has been condemned by advocates and organizations addressing food insecurity. Reynolds cited concerns about the program's inability to regulate food choices and focused on childhood obesity as a major issue. However, critics argued that the move neglects the immediate hunger problem affected 1 in 11 Iowa children. The Iowa Hunger Coalition says 240,000 children in the state will lose $120 in food assistance next summer due to the government's decision. Hunger advocates believe this move worsens the crisis, especially when food banks are experiencing record-breaking demand. They argue that the rejection of summer EBT is a policy choice that puts politics before the well-being of Iowa's children. Democratic State Senator Sarah Trone Garriott called the decision a huge loss for Iowa. President Joe Biden has granted pardons and reduced sentences for 11 nonviolent drug offenders. He's also pardoned thousands of marijuana possession offenses under federal law. Biden issued these pardons using his authority under Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, although his power is limited to federal offenses and does not extend to state law violations. Biden also announced a proclamation aimed at pardoning additional offenses related to simple possession and use of marijuana under federal and Washington, D.C. law. This is his second initiative to address nonviolent drug offenses. He previously pardoned all prior federal simple possession of marijuana offenses in 2022. A recent report by the U.S. Sentencing Commission highlighted the impact of marijuana possession convictions in the federal system. Prior convictions continue to influence sentencing outcomes for other offenses, even as possession sentencing rates have decreased. The World Health Organization is raising the alarm about a 52% increase in new COVID-19 cases worldwide over the past month. Over 850,000 new infections have been reported, as other respiratory diseases like influenza and RSV are also increasing. But there has also been an 8% decrease in the number of new COVID-related deaths during the same period. The WHO reported a 23% increase in COVID-19 hospitalizations and a 51% increase in ICU admissions globally. As of December 17th, the global tally stands at 772 million confirmed cases and nearly 7 million deaths since the onset of the pandemic. The new JN.1 variant has been designated as a variant of interest due to its rapid prevalent growth. However, existing vaccines continue to protect against severe disease and death from it and other variants. The WHO continues to remind people to follow preventative measures. These include mask wearing, social distancing, hand hygiene, and testing when symptomatic or exposed. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.